Okay, we should be ready to start in a few more minutes. I'll give them until 10:02 our latecomers, if there are any. Okay, my name is Twani, and my co-host Dedre. I'm sure a lot of people that have joined our sessions are familiar with Dedre in my background. Unfortunately, she's not in today, but I will be all by myself. Please, guys, should anything unforeseen happen, please, we will try our best to avoid it from happening, but should it happen, please just know that there isn't anybody to back me up today, but hopefully nothing wrong is going to happen. Touch wood, there I'm banging my wood, but touch wood that nothing bad will happen. Today we are going to be going through the main module. We are done with invoicing. We will be going through the main module, and I know a lot of us, there are some people that are using WinMain Lite, and we also have people on WinMain Full. People always ask what is the difference between the two modules, which I'll get into at the moment. But please note that there are certain functionalities which are available in both WinMain Lite and WinMain Full. So there's a difference when it comes to your creditors, and that is the big difference, and your bank recon as well. Okay, let me, I'm sure we can start. Looks like I don't think anybody else will be joining. Please, everybody has been muted just to minimize the amount of background noise. I don't know if you guys can hear the echo, but I am in the office that it's empty, so there might be a bit of an echo in the background. But if you do have a question to ask, please feel free to unmute yourself or pop us a chat, and we will be able to assist with any questions, okay? And if you'd like to add anything to the training session as well, you're more than welcome to, because I believe that we learn from each other. So this is a platform for everybody. Yes, we are here to inform and educate, but your contribution helps, because you might be working differently in your agency, so that won't cause any harm. Okay. As I mentioned earlier on, there are two main modules. Okay, there isn't a difference in pricing. It is how the workflow actually happens in your environment. We've got WinMain Lite, which is the flexible module. We actually refer to it as the flexible module, because it allows you to close your main module, which is more, I would say, more concerned, or it is more data specific if you're on WinMain Lite. The moment you have WinMain Full, you've got your creditors, and you've also got your bank in the main module. Before you close your month, those that functionality also needs to be attended to. So you can't close your month until you're done with your bank recon, until everything, your creditors are up to date. So it does force you to make sure that you complete your creditors on time, and you also do your bank on time. But in a smaller agency, we know that you probably have a bookkeeper that actually does that for you. So you don't have to focus on that. What you need to do is make sure that by the time you send your statements, you've captured all your receipts, and you're ready to send your statement, you can close your main module. Okay, but there isn't, from a functionality point, there isn't many differences. The only thing is that people that work with main module will have their creditors in the main module, and we will be having more sessions where we've split up the sessions, whereby we'll have sessions for WinMain Lite, people on WinMain Lite. So when you check the subject, please make sure that you attend the main module session based on the main module that you have in your agency, because there's WinMain Lite and there's WinMain Full. So just take note of the heading. Okay, any questions? Okay, doesn't seem like there's any questions. All right, none. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, first thing I'm going to show you guys is how to actually do journals. Okay, sorry, there's people joining in. I don't know if you guys can hear that little bell coming through, but that is just for people joining in. Okay, I'm first going to go through how you guys will be able to do journals in the main module. Remember that you can also do journals in the GL, but if you are doing any journals that are client related, client specific, perhaps you want to write a bed date off, or you want to charge interest, this is exactly where you'll come and actually apply or do that journal in the main module. Okay, so to do a new journal in your main module, I hope everybody can see the screen that I'm sharing. If not, please pop me a chat and I'll be able to, well, I am sharing, so hopefully you'll be able to see, right? So to do a new journal, it's File, New Journal, all right? So this is the journal header, which will then ask you, what date are you preparing the journal on? Who's preparing the journal and the details. So I think the most important thing is make it as detailed as possible, because should there be a query, should you be questioned for any reason whatsoever, you are able to actually advise why the journal was actually done. So I'll just do a typical one. Well, written off, if I can type because my hands are freezing. Okay, I'll just name it bed date written off, and I'll say maybe D2. All right. Okay, so you can specify the account number, but you still have the opportunity to actually add the account number. I'm just putting in more detail so that should I get questions, I actually know I can cover myself. Let me put it that way. This is just to cover yourself. Okay. So in order for you to create, add a new line item to your journal, you've got your new button at the bottom. And remember, when you're doing a journal, you're literally offsetting, you're deciding, what the idea behind a journal is. You're literally saying, I'm writing off a bed date. Well, in this case, if I can give an example in this case, I'm writing off a bed date because D2 hasn't paid me for whatever period, and I have to put it against bed dates. So that journal, that account that I'm putting it in, it has to be created, whether it's a general ledger account or there was a mistake with the data, you are transferring the balance from one data to another. You need the two accounts. So you need to know whether are you doing a journal against a data account or a general ledger account or a ledger account, because it can also be for a ledger account. So that's the question that this is asking you. What type of an account are you effecting? Is it a data? Is it a general ledger? Or is it a ledger account? I'm firstly going to select a data account. The moment I select data, it's going to give me a list of all the data accounts. Had I selected general ledger, it would have given me a list of all the GL accounts. Okay, so it's quite important that you select the correct account type. Okay, so if I were to select my D2 and I decide, okay, I'm going to write off the amount of 5,002. Okay, so right there, I can actually allocate that 5,002. Okay, and capture the amount that I'm actually writing off. The moment I click on save, it's got the first line item. Okay, but I'm putting this against my bed date account in the general ledger, because now I've taken that money, I've written it off from the client's balance. Now I need to put it somewhere where whoever my bookkeeper is, they can actually see, where did I write off this amount? Did I put it in bed dates or wherever I put it, whether it was interest charge, whatever the case may be, you need to then have the contra account where you're actually putting that, that amount or whatever it is that you're writing off. If I select new, now I'm going to select the account type that I'm writing this off to. I hope I have a bed date account. There it is, bed dates, 120. And I can stipulate the amount that I'm writing off. Okay, if it was VAT inclusive, I can specify the VAT amount. Then it will be able to calculate the VAT for me. But these are additional references, passenger name or references that you will be able to add. Okay. So below here, if I actually had a division that I wanted to write this off to, and remember that it's not everybody that has a division within their Quick Drive applications, but you are able to capture the reporting flags so that this actually reflects in your GL. Okay. Right. I seem to have so now it looks like I've actually written off a bigger amount. Sorry about that. I actually just made a mistake. I've actually, let me go back. When you are writing off the date, I'm writing off 5,002, but then I need to make sure that I do a reverse entry in my GL account. So I'm not going to capture that amount as 5,002. I just want to do this. So I haven't done journals in a while. Oh, 23rd. If I were to add that plus sign, it will then do it as a minus. That's exactly what I needed to do. Sorry about that, guys, because now I can't put a debit. It needs to be a debit and a credit. That's exactly what needs to happen, because now I'm taking money out of the client account, and now I need to credit one account. I'm debiting one, and I need to credit the other account. Okay. So I've credited my bad debts account, and I've debited my ABC construction. If I were to click on save, I'll be able to now save it as closed. Okay. Your journals will sit on your journal register, file journal register, and this is where all the journals that you would have done will be sitting on this register. Okay. The reason why I use that plus sign, it is literally earlier on. If I may go back to that one. The reason why I use that plus sign, I don't even have to figure out the figure that the amount that I actually typed. By using that plus sign, it actually grabs the amount that I've captured on the first line item, and then it actually does a reverse entry. Okay, Jen has just asked a question. Not sure if I'm getting ahead of myself, but would there be not a provision for bad debts in the GL? Okay, let me read the question again. I'm not sure if I'm getting ahead of myself, but would there not be a provision for bad debts in the GL, which would then be reversed in this journal coming through? No, Jane, because if you are making okay, I will check this for you, but in this instance, if you are writing off a bad debt, you would then put it in the actual account, in your bad debt account. Do you mind unmuting yourself so I can get clarity on your question, please?
Hi there.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. So at the year end, you would make a provision for bad debt where you'd make an entry in the provision for bad debt and the bad debt account in the GL only. This is for your year end books. Now, if you finally decide this is definitely going to be a bad debt, you'd need to reverse it so that this one coming through doesn't double the amount in the bad debt account. Or I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Okay, but if you are writing off the state, are you not going to do the adjustments in the GL? Remember, this is just to affect the data. Are you not going to do the adjustments in the GL?
Yeah. But you've done an you've made a provision for it already in the data. So now
that's correct.
Yeah. So now you're doing an actual bad debt. So now if that goes through as a credit to bad debt, you've already got a credit sitting there because of your debit to provision and your credit to bad debt.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but then, okay, I hear what you're saying, but in this case, okay, I hear what you're saying, Jen, but in this case, if we were to effect the bad, okay, if we wanted to effect the bad debt account, should we not do it in the main module? You need to, when you're doing the actual write-off, you're doing it in the main module, but when only a provision, i.e. this year, my financial year says, this looks like doubtful debt, let's make a provision for it, and you make a provision for it this year, and then next year you decide to actually write it off. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure if I'm getting ahead of myself here, forgive me if I am. No, then you're not. I love these questions because remember, I'm not a bookkeeper. So I would do it from, I think this would be more bookkeeping related as well. But if you are correct in saying that you definitely would have identified which bad dates or which are bad dates, and you make a provision for it in the GL. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Sorry. And is it Donna, is it? Excuse me? Sorry, are you Donna? No, Twani.
Oh, hi. Okay, super. Thank you so much.
No problem, Jane. Okay. Is there any other questions with the GL? Okay. We'll move on to receipting. And I love receipting because with the new functionality, QuickTrap has actually enabled us to actually capture an invoice number. So this would actually be beneficial for you guys if you have clients that pay you per invoice. So if you don't have clients that pay you per invoice, it will be a bit challenging. But if you do have people that pay you per invoice, you are able to receipt it using the invoice number. What the system will actually do is that it will populate who is the client that's paying you based on that invoice number, the amount that's been paid, and it will also allocate it for you. I'm just going to check in my invoicing module. I should have a couple of invoices. I'm just going to double check an invoice number that I will be able to use. Okay. Let me grab maybe 105. Okay. I obviously don't have. Okay, we can actually use invoice number 87. I'm just going to discard the screen. In order for you to do your receipts in the main module, you've got new receipt and you've also got general receipt. Well, before I show you guys how to do the receipts, the two receipts, you can actually split it or identify it in such a way that a new receipt, it is only client related. So if there's also money coming towards the business, perhaps you've decided to sell a vehicle and you want the money to come into the business, you've also got the option of capturing the receipt in the main module, and you can actually do a general receipt. So perhaps they've sold a vehicle, or whatever the case may be, you are able to do a general receipt in the main module. But today we are focusing on your receipts, that is money coming from your client, and that is a new receipt in the main module. You've also got the option of using your shortcut keys, please remember that, but you can also use file, new receipt. I'm just going to type in invoice number 84. The moment I type in invoice number 84, okay, do you see what it's done? I didn't even select the account number. I didn't type in the figure. So that invoice has populated what the amount is for that specific invoice and who my client is. Okay, right at the bottom, you'll see that it's also allocated that invoice because now it's turned into green. Okay, that is an indication that this invoice has been allocated. We will be doing a session on allocations because we know a lot of people forget to allocate. You are able to do manual allocations as well, which I'll show you in the next step. So all I need to do, if I've got a client that actually pays me per invoice, I need to specify what type of a receipt. How did the money come in? Was it cash? Was it a check? Was it a swipe? Or was it an EFT? Okay, this is only to indicate how the money has come into the bank account. I'll select EFT. Now, auto deposit to, this is a confirmation of where the money has come into which bank account has the money come into. Remember, this would have been set up already. You will then have to stipulate which account the money has come into. Okay, I'll select NetBank. If you are using your source reference, we always advise people use it differently, but we always say, put a reference down because if there's a query or there's a discrepancy with that receipt, you are able to refer back. You can use your bank statement number right on top, and you can literally name your line items. So your source reference would be something that you are able to trace back this money that's come into the account. So using your bank statement, you're working from the bank statement, use your bank statement number because that actually helps a lot, right? I'll put a fictitious one as 123. Now it's already allocated the amount for me. All I need to do then, either put in a message if it is applicable, and I can save as banked and confirmed. Remember, if you save the receipt as a draft, that is not a final document. But if you save it as a banked and confirmed, it is also going to hit your bank, okay? Because it's actually a direct confirmation. You are working from your bank statement, and you can actually confirm that the funds have come into the bank. I'll select as banked and confirmed. Okay, then I'm done with my receipt. However, you also find that you've got clients that actually pay you a bulk amount. So they won't pay you per receipt. They'll pay you a bulk amount and ask you, please, can you allocate invoice 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever the case may be. They'll give you the invoice numbers that you need to allocate. Right. So if we do a new receipt, I'll go step by step to define each and every field. So this will be the date that the money has come in, the date that you're preparing this receipt. Who's preparing the receipt? That's the consultant's details. The division, that can be a default. But if you've got more than one division, you'll obviously have to select the applicable division. The receipt type is how the money has come in. I'm just going to do direct deposit or EFT. Okay. Auto deposit to, that is the bank. So I'm not going to put in any invoice numbers because this is the client is paying me a bulk amount. An account number would be who is the client that's actually paying me. So I've populated information as how the money has come into the bank, which bank the money was received in, and the account number. So if I were to type D2, D2 will show me all the invoices that are currently outstanding on that client's account. It also tells me this is my client's balance. And obviously now you have to go through the list and decide. The client is advised we are paying for invoices from 2018, for example, or we are paying for invoices for a specific month. Depending on how your client pays you, that is how you will do your allocations. Your source reference, as I've mentioned, it can be your bank statement number, which is fine. On the far right-hand side, you need to capture the amount that has come into the bank. So if the client has paid you 100,000, but the invoices are less, or whatever the case may be, you need to capture the money per what is on the bank. Very important. If the client has underpaid you, you'll be able to identify that by allocating. Then it will tell you that there is actually a difference, because at times it could be a finger error, whatever the case may be. But what's important is that you need to capture the amount per what you have received. Okay. Okay, I've got a question from Adela. Should a client pay an amount that does not match the specific invoices? What do I do? Adela, very important. You will still allocate those invoices. You need to capture the amount per what your client has paid. Whether it's they've underpaid you or they've overpaid you, but what has come into the bank, that's what I need you to capture. Because now whoever will be reconciling the bank, that's what they'll actually need to see that the money has actually come into the bank. I can confirm that that's the amount that was paid. I hope this answers your question. Right. So I'll thumbs up an amount again. I'll just say perhaps maybe my client paid me 28,000 rand. Okay, now they've asked me to allocate invoices for, or maybe invoice 50 and invoice 53. Let me just use a proper example, because obviously this is not going to be 28,000 rand. So in order for me to allocate, you've got the option of multi-selecting, but you've also got your allocate button at the bottom. Your allocate button, the moment you click on your allocate button, it is going to ask you, do you want to allocate what you've highlighted, which is the current amount, the 8,915? Do you want to allocate all the invoices? So if you've got somebody who actually pays you the full amount, you are able to allocate all the invoices. Do you want to allocate everything for the month of December? Or do you want to allocate the 330, which is all the 30 invoices that are currently sitting there? Okay. But you've got the option. I'm going to multi-select by using the space bar. So I'll select the first invoice, highlight the second one, and push my space bar again. So that is a way of allocating multiple invoices. So instead of you going and clicking on one, just use your space bar and multi-select using your space bar. When I click on the allocate button, I've now highlighted this, the two invoices. Now it's showing me this two selected invoices. So in this case, I'll assume that my client overpaid me. I'm going to select the two invoices, and it tells me that the client is now sitting with an open amount of 1,425. Do you see the moment I allocate the invoices, there isn't a balance sitting on those two invoices that I've selected? Any questions?
Swani.
Hello.
Hi, can you repeat the part? Hi, can you repeat the where you select more than one invoice?
Okay.
Where you allocate more than one invoice at a time?
Perfect, I will do that. So instead of you, Sylvia, selecting one, this is the idea. I think working smarter, not harder. If you want to actually select multiple invoices, so you can use your space bar by actually multi-selecting the invoices. Okay, let's do this. Unselect. Okay. Okay, you can actually use your space bar. So highlight the invoice that you want to allocate, then press on the space bar, and you can multi-select. So you can literally just go all the way down, selecting whatever invoices your client has paid you by multi-selecting, and then selecting the allocate button. The other way that you can actually allocate is by using the insert button. Okay, the insert button on your keyboard allows you to allocate as well. So you've got many ways of allocating. I'm not going to allocate that. And to deselect as well, you can use your delete button. Okay. Does that answer your question, Sylvia?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. So now I've got an open amount of 1,425, which will then sit on my client account. I need to put my source reference. I like source reference. I'll just put in a fictitious amount.
Shwane,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yes, of course, Nishan. Go ahead.
Okay, the 28,000 that was paid,
Yes.
because it was an overpayment, you need to allocate it to a specific invoice. So
Why?
most probably if it was either invoice 50 or 53, so it will show which invoice was overpaid there.
So no, the client has overpaid me, but your client can sit with a balance. So I don't have to. If the client has specified to me, allocate only invoice number 50 and 53, I don't have to allocate any other invoices. Nishan?
No. What I'm saying is invoice 50 was for 8,915. Invoice 53 was for 17,600.
Yes.
Now, when they paid the 28,000, they would have given you like a remittance.
Yeah.
So they showed you, for example, invoice 50 was paid 8,915 plus 1,425, which was overpaid.
No, the
That
1,425 should
show. So that specific invoice will show the overpayment of 1,425.
So would you, in your environment, would you allocate this to another invoice?
No, not to another, to the same invoice. So what I'm saying is our invoice 50 is 8,915, but they would have paid that 1,425 over that invoice.
That's correct.
I'll show you. Wait, I'll just give you the amount.
Okay. The reason why I haven't put that 1,425, so I've only allocated the invoices for what you've raised.
Right. For
example,
for example, for invoice 50, instead of them paying 8,915, they went and paid an amount of 10,340, which is the overpayment. So that 1,425 will be showing as an overpayment for that specific invoice.
No, but that's not the case. That's not the case. Maybe that happens in your environment. But in this instance, I just have a client that's overpaid me, and yet they've said to me, allocate only the following 2 invoices.
Okay,
so
sure.
I haven't overcharged the client, whatever the case may be. I'm just giving you an example whereby I'm saying my client has overpaid me. I will capture the amount per what they have actually paid me. And I will allocate the 2 invoices that they've stipulated. I won't add any other invoices. I will capture the money as is. It is advisable that the client would rather sit with an open amount instead of you.
Yes. Shwani, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. The 1,425 will be still showing as overpayment.
That's correct. It'll be showing
for overpayment for a specific invoice that they overpaid. But it'll still show on the account. We're not allocating it to any other account invoice.
Okay. So after here, what would you do?
No, so when you click, you'll see you'll double click on invoice 50.
Yeah.
Double click on it.
Yeah.
Right. So there now you'll put the amount of 10,000. I'll give you the amount now. 10,340. Because that, for example, if they sent you the remittance and they said invoice 50, they paid 10,340 in error.
Okay, so will they specify? Okay, now, okay,
Yeah,
you've taken 2 steps forward. Okay.
They normally specify what
this
they
way.
pay.
Let's think, okay, I hear what you're saying, Nishan. Let's think of it this way. The client hasn't picked up that they actually made a mistake. So you want the client, you've got the option, yes, you are 100% correct, of actually putting the 10,340 so that you can actually see which invoice was overpaid. But if they haven't identified that they've actually overpaid, because these are things that happen, mistakes do happen. So if they haven't identified they've overpaid you, you would rather let the client sit with that open amount in their account.
Yes, it'll show that amount open.
Okay, so Linda is 100% correct. So whether I put the 10,000 Rand here or I leave this invoice as is, the client will still sit with the 1,425 as an open amount. So it doesn't make a difference. You just work differently.
This is just a case where there's 2 invoices. Sometimes where there's 10 invoices paid and an overpayment.
Yeah.
Then you know exactly which invoice was overpaid.
That's correct.
In an event, there's a query later on, you know exactly which invoice was overpaid.
That's 100% correct, Nishan. I 100% agree with you. And I think I'm not open or based on an environment, but when we train, we do find questions such as, what if my client overpays me and they identify this 6 months later or 3 months later that I actually overpaid you? So if you receipted this correctly, that amount will sit as open. So you are able to actually say, yes, we did actually pick it up, that you overpaid us in this case because we only allocated the 2 invoices and this amount was actually sitting in your balance. It was sitting in your account as an open amount. They can decide, do you want to put it against a specific invoice, whatever the case may be. So the scenarios are definitely different. It depends on how you guys would actually come across this instance. But I don't think it happens often. But should it happen, you've got the 2 options of whether capturing the overpaid amount in this field or literally capturing and allocating whatever invoices have been paid and letting that amount sit as an open amount. So there's many ways to skin the cat. I think that's what it is at the end of the day. Any questions, anybody?
Twani?
Yes?
I wanted to find out, I think, I'm not sure if that's what he was asking. Like, for example, when you have an overpayment and then where there was a bulk payment for more than 1 invoice. Okay. So when you do now, when you allocate more than 1 invoice, when you now end off, where does that 1,425, where would it sit? Would it now sit on the last invoice that was allocated, which might not necessarily be the one that was overpaid, or what now?
If you've, like Nishan mentioned earlier on, it's actually a good example. Because if they've stipulated a certain invoice that was overpaid, you can actually let that amount sit on that specific invoice. Or you can actually just let it sit on the client's account. It will sit as open until you put or you allocate it against something.
Okay, but then it will sit on a certain invoice line, right?
It won't sit on a certain invoice. It will sit as an open amount.
Okay.
Let me show you something here. If I were to click on Save as Banked and Confirmed. Linda, I'm going to come back to your question shortly. So if I were to go to my query, monitor an account, ABC Construction. Let's show you something. And even on there it is. Do you see right there at the right-hand side? It shows an amount of 28 under our account monitor, which we'll be doing in the afternoon. But it tells me that there's an open amount. There's a receipt that was done, but it's sitting on the client account. It doesn't sit on any of the invoices until you will allocate that amount against a specific invoice.
Okay.
Shwana, go to the customer statement,
Okay.
and then it'll show exactly.
Okay. You've got the option of doing account monitor as well. Okay. Sylvia, the same way that we saw it in the main module, in the account monitor account, do you see? Right at the bottom, that 28,000 that you've receipted, there's the open amount of 1,425. Okay. The nice thing, I like account monitor because I'll show you why. If I were to go to monitor an account, D2 load. If you were to double click on this and you click on allocations, it's still going to show you which invoices were allocated and what the open amount is. So you've got many ways to actually see what that balance is, why it was sitting there, okay? So you are able to actually have a paper trail, go back to actually what happened to that actual invoice. It will show you what the amount was allocated, what the original amount that was received, and what the balance is on that account. Okay, so you can use Nishan's way of doing a statement, but you've also got monitor and count. Okay. Going back into receipts as well, you might find that you have to do a receipt or in an instance whereby you've actually swiped the client's credit card, but money has not reflected in the bank account. So you'll still do a receipt, prepare a receipt to give to your client or whatever the case may be. If you still do new receipt, same questions or same steps will follow the type of receipt, but obviously because this is a swipe, you'll then select the correct auto deposit to you. Was it a Dana swipe? Was it a Visa or Master? The list is endless. So you can literally just go through the list. Very important. The moment you've done a swipe and the money is not in the bank account, you need to make sure that you leave the auto deposit to blank. The reason why this is also not a mandatory field is because at times you do a swipe, the money doesn't get to your account. Perhaps the client has insufficient funds and yet you did the swipe, it was successful, but we don't know what happens as the money is supposed to reach the bank account. But you've got the option of doing the receipt still, but making sure that the receipt doesn't hit the bank. Okay, auto deposit too, when you do your swipes, please make sure that you do not select it. This is very, you need to make sure that you select auto deposit too once the money is actually in the bank account. So that will be the next step of actually doing your deposit slip. So I still select my account number or the client's account number. I'll just do the one receipt of 11,260. Capture the amount, allocate it still, and I will save. You'll see that the moment you haven't selected your bank account, you've got the option of saving as draft, and you've also got the option of saving as closed. Definitely save it as a closed because now you've actually done the swap. You just need the money to come into the bank account. The next step that you need to do will then go into your deposit slip. New deposit slip. Okay, there it is. So if you've got more than one bank account, then you just need to see where the money, which bank account the money has come into. This is a confirmation to say, now the money has come into the bank, I need to prepare a deposit so that it actually hits the bank. Okay, the deposits, the new deposit, this will be the date that you are preparing the deposit, the source reference, and who's actually preparing the deposit. Okay, so think of this as in the olden days whereby you would have to go into the actual bank and write out a deposit slip, put the money, give the money to the teller with the deposit slip and wait for the money to come into your bank. That's the best way that you can think of it. So you still have to wait for the money to come into the bank, and the moment that it comes into the bank, you need to confirm that the money has actually come into the bank. Okay. Your source reference, you can still use the money that, the confirmation or the bank statement reference number. So you'll see that anything that has not been banked, it actually sits on the far right-hand side. So everything that you see here, you might have multiple ones because it does give you an opportunity of capturing all the receipts without actually making a direct deposit or banking them, so that by the time you actually make sure you bank everything, you are able to transfer, whether it is 10 deposits that you've done or 5 deposits that you've done, you are able to actually transfer them into the bank. It also allows you to actually select. If I had more than one, I'll be able to select. I can highlight, I can multi-select again and decide which ones have actually hit the bank. If the money has come into the bank, I can select all of them. The ones that have not hit the bank or they haven't come through to the bank, you've got the option of leaving them and then doing the deposit slip maybe 2 or 3 days later. So it doesn't force you to actually make sure that everything has been banked on that day. Bank whatever has come through on the bank. Once the ones that haven't come through, leave them for a later date or until the money actually reflects in your bank account. Right. You've got your all button. So if I had more than one transaction, I can select all, and as a confirmation that all of these transactions have come through to my bank, I can select all. If I use the yes button, I can use the multi-select key using the keyboard and select whatever transactions have come through to the bank. Okay. If I've put in this amount or this deposit by mistake on this side, I've still got the option of reversing it and putting it as an unbanked receipt. Okay, so there, the no and all, this is where you can actually reverse it. Okay, because I can definitely confirm this money has come into my bank account. I've now got the option of saving as banked. If it's not confirmed, I can save it as not confirmed, but I've now got the option of saving as banked and confirmed because I can confirm that the money has come into the bank. Okay. It will ask me if I want to accept this, and I will click on yes, because that's a confirmation that the money has now come into the bank. Any questions? Okay, very important. You have to actually export. Okay, this is applicable for people that are on Winmain Lite. People that are Winmain Lite, in order for you to reconcile your bank, your bank recon, you need to make sure whatever receipts have been done are exported to the bank. People that are on Winmain Full, you don't have to perform this functionality because it actually does update it. But for people that are on Winmain Lite, if you click on File, View Deposit Book, you can select the bank account. You'll see that you've got your deposits sitting on the register. This EXP column is very important. If you see anything that's highlighted in no, this is an indication that all the hard work that you've done has actually not pulled through into the bank recon. And all you need to do is just click on the export button to make sure that it exports to your bank. Okay, so this can be done at the end of the day or whenever you find it suitable. But people that are Winmain Full, where you've got your creditors sitting in your main module, you'll see that you don't have to do this. Okay, the moment after clicking your export button, you'll see that the EXP column will then change to yes. So if you've done all the hard work and the person who actually does your bank recon, they're like, okay, but where are all the receipts that you've done? We can't see them. Just go in here, go check whether you've exported the receipts or not. If not, click on the EXP button or export button, then it will be able to transfer all those receipts that you've done into your bank recon. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so in order for you to view all the receipts that you've done, those will be sitting on your receipts register. This will be a list of all the receipts that you've done. These are some of the checks that you would have to do, which will go through as you're doing your checks for month end, because some of the receipts, they cannot be sitting with a unconfirmed status. These are some of the checks that you will have to do to make sure that the receipts have been banked and confirmed. Okay, and if I don't know if everybody is allowed to void your receipts, but you are able to void your receipts, subject that they are still in the current month. Okay, and this is, it's the reason you obviously need a valid reason why you would be voiding a receipt, because if you are working from the bank statement, that is a confirmation that the money is in the bank account. But if you do have to void a receipt, the system does allow you to void the receipt within the current month. Perhaps you've done a typo error, whatever the case may be, you do have the option of voiding your receipt within the current month. If you've closed the month and you identified that the receipt was done incorrectly, then other steps have to be followed. Okay, so from a control point, you do have to do a negative receipt, which we do not like, but if it has to be done, if you've closed the month, you will have to do a negative receipt to correct that receipt. And this is subject that you've actually closed the month. Within the current month, you can still void it, but once you've closed it, you would have to do a negative receipt to reverse that entry and do a proper one. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Janet has lost her audio. Has anybody else lost their audio? Sorry about that, Janet. Okay. Any questions on receipts? Okay. Thanks. Good to have you back. Any questions on receipts? Okay.
Hi, sorry, I've got a question, Shwani.
Yes, Janet.
You know when you do on the last day of the month,
Yes.
okay, you do a whole batch of swipe receipts, but they're not going to appear in your bank statement till the next day. Can you carry that over as a banked but not confirmed?
No, I wouldn't necessarily close the month, because a lot of people don't close the month right at the end of the or they don't close the month end right at the last day of the month.
Yeah.
So because remember, if they sit as banked and unconfirmed, you're not going to be able to close your month, by the way.
Yeah. But so you've got to basically wait until those funds appear, which could take.
You have to, that's correct. You have to wait until those funds appear so that you are able to finalize those receipts for that specific month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That is a wrap up for our session. Thank you so much for the session. It was quite interactive for a change. I think it was good to actually talk to people and get asked the questions. Please share the training manual. Okay, there isn't a specific training manual, but what you can actually do on our website. Sorry, I battle to pronounce your name, and I do apologize for that. But you can literally in the main module, if you go onto our website, you'll see that we've got content under each and every module. So if you were to type receipts or journals or deposits, it will actually take you to that subject. So that's what we've actually done. We don't have a manual, or you can actually download a manual on our website. But one thing I'll tell you about our manuals is that they're not how-to manuals, they're reference manuals. So they're not quite user-friendly at this point, which is why we've introduced these training sessions and trying to do the videos as well. But if you do need more information, please give us a shout and we'll gladly assist. Thank you so much for everybody for joining in.
Thanks, Twani.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not looking at my next session. What time is the next session?
It's at 12 o'clock.
And what's the content?
I think it's monitor an account.
Oh, okay.
It's got to do with inquiries. I think that's what it is. It's all about inquiries.
Thanks, Shwani. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Bye, Janine.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Swani? She's gone. Is she gone?
Yes, Sylvia?
Hi, I wanted to find out, I'm not sure because I registered quite in a hurry because I forgot. I wanted to find out, are we going to do, when you do allocations, maybe I allocated things wrongly and I closed off the month. It's a big, big boo-boo that I did.
Yes.
So, I did allocate the payment, but somewhere I made a mistake and the numbers are just not adding up, and I need to reverse the whole allocation on that specific.
Okay, so we need to reverse the allocation.
And I did it in May.
In May.
Yeah.
Send me your team viewer details and then we'll have a look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.